Hello and welcome to Vipassana, the official center for the Vipassana meditation in Triebel in Germany. My name is Angela and I will be introducing to you a few things about the retreat that you need to know before it begins. Now, most importantly, you have probably already understood this when you applied, but this is a silent retreat. Yes, that means that I am probably the last person you speak with for 10 days. So let us make it a very good conversation. No pressure. No, really, you do not have to speak. Please sit down and I will firstly explain to you a few things about the technique. Then we will go over what will be the daily schedule. Then you can ask me any questions that you have about your stay here and your accommodation and anything that you have not understood already from the documents supplied you. Then we will talk about maybe your practicalities, your food and your clothing as well. I will be asking you a few questions about your psychology, because it is very important. You are not having any acute psychological problems. Okay, that is not what this retreat is for. You should speak to a doctor. Okay. Finally, we will go over my favorite piece of all is the Code of Discipline. And this is a very important document. Okay, so firstly, I wish to say to you hello and congratulations on choosing to become a student of Vipassana meditation here at our Triebel Center in Germany. So we have been here for very many years, and I personally also have been here for many years. Okay, a very long time. I'm not exactly sure. Speaking of time, the local time now in Triebel is 5 p.m. Okay, do you want to just check your watch and put in this time? Aha! So you do still have your watch on. Yes. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we do ask everybody to put all their electronic devices in the locker before they come through to the main hall for the introductions. So, yes, I'm sure you didn't hear this announcement. However, just give me your watch now and I won't tell anyone. Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, it's a very nice watch. Yes, this is from the company called Casio. Yes, I know them. They make very good calculators as well. And, when a German person tells you this, you know it is true. It's a very high compliment indeed. Now I'll tell you why I'm not giving this watch back to you for another 10 days until the course is over. It's a very fancy watch with very many functions which are not conducive at all to the techniques that we will be learning. So one thing about the Vipassana technique that is very important is that actually the only time you know what time it is at all is when you hear the gong. Okay, so let me demonstrate the gong because we are now moving on to the next chapter. Are you not finished yet? Okay. My colleague Gerhard is not finished yet, so we will wait to do the gong. He's very slow. He thinks we have 10 days to just do the introductions with our students. Anyway, so you watch, let's see what can it all do. So it has different modes, so I presume maybe it has an alarm clock. And there's you can even have it on 12 hours or 24 hours. This is very fancy. And you have a light light function. Oh yes, it's not a very bright light, but still. And you have lithium. Okay. Okay, that's not a function. This is just, yes, it is a chemical of the battery. Well, it's a very lovely watch. You should be very proud, but I am now going to keep this until the retreat is over. Okay? Okay. Fine. Okay. Gerhard is finished. So, this is a gong. And this is what you will hear every time it is time to stop meditating or start meditating or stop eating or start eating. So the wonderful thing about this center, and I have never left, is you really don't have to think about anything at all. Everything is done for you. It's a bit like being in the army, but in Germany not very easy to be in the army. So actually living at a meditation retreat is maybe the nearest thing to being in the military in terms of your food is taken care of, your accommodation. You can always ask the teacher about any sort of questions you have about life or suffering or anything like this. But you will never have to kill anybody. So, and you don't even have to talk to anybody. So it is virtually conflict free. So if you are attached to this kind of lifestyle, then you must meditate more, because we are actually aiming to have no attachments to anything. So it was a bit of a trick question. So, however, let us speak about then your application to come here. So I read here that this is your first time at a Vipassana retreat. Okay, have you meditated before? Okay, yes. Was that, okay, that is not, it's a different approach, I think. Here we do not lie down, we always sit up, unless we are very old. And then we are allowed to have a cushion or even a chair if we have had a hip replacement recently. So as you will see very many chairs, because we are here in Triebel, and it is not like some of the other centers in Germany that have more young people. Triebel is quite a quiet place, so it is very good for people who understand about the quality of life. And unfortunately, many of these people are extremely old. But fortunately for you, I can see you're quite a young person, and you might have had to wait a very long time to get a place on this course. If you're an old woman, so we accept applications from their courses for old women, old men, young women, and young men, and they start at different times. There's obviously an overlap. There's on this course also there will be young men, and there will also be old women and old men, but there are 4 different portals. And so depending on which category you are put on a different waiting list. So you understand. And actually, old women is the hardest. It's the very longest list, because in Germany, as in most places, the men, they tend to die younger. Yes, very sad. But it means that many women in Triebel have nothing else to do. There's not very much at all. So for many people, these silent retreats are the closest they come to socializing in their lives. It's very sad, but however, okay. Let us now talk about what you'll be doing. So we'll go over the daily schedule, and I can answer any questions you have about any basic things like accommodation and food and clothing. Okay, so I will first acquaint you with the daily schedule, and I have here a copy of it. You can look at it until the bell goes. So when it is 6 p.m., that is when the silence begins. So I'll just give you this copy, okay, because I've actually meditated for so long that I'm legally blind, because you keep your eyes closed whenever you're meditating. So I do not have to worry about the distractions of having a mobile phone to read a newspaper on, or anything like just passing by a sign that says fire alarm and reading it and being pulled out of my meditation. I would actually have to really apply myself to read anything. So yes, so that is a benefit of if you stay at the center long beyond the 10 days. However, the daily schedule, as you will read here on the paper, there's a 4 a.m. morning wake-up call. Okay, so then you have a little bit of time. You just wake up, you have a little stretch, maybe you do some yoga, okay? And then at 4:30 to 6:30, you can meditate in your room, which I will show you to later. It is inside of a barrack, barrack, and or you can choose to meditate in the hall. And the hall is a very big room, which is big enough to accommodate all the old women and young women and young men and old men. Then from 6:30 to 8 a.m. there's breakfast, so you will hear the gong, it will tell you bing, it is 6:30, go over to breakfast, stop meditating for a minute, okay, and eat. So for breakfast we often have red lentils. So this is actually a really wonderful thing to eat, and you have it for many of your meals. So many people don't realize, but actually red lentils for breakfast, if you mix it with some milk, is very tasty, and you put a bit of honey in it, so it is nice and sweet. It is just like having Rice Krispies. So we might have that on most mornings, yeah. So then we all sit down and we have a nice breakfast, and you have already submitted your dietary requirements. We're very hot on them here. Some people eat virtually nothing. So then we have a breakfast, and then we'll finish your breakfast. You will take your meditation center mandated copper brush, and you will just wipe your plates, and we do this in a sort of rotational fashion. So we just make little circles on the plates, and then eventually they're all clean. We do not even need to use water or cloths to dry them, because we just make little circles, and the friction against the copper wire makes it hot, and it just dries the plate, because people oftentimes, they actually finished with their red lentils much quicker than you would imagine. So you usually have more than an hour to clean the plate before it is 8 a.m. apologies, and then it is time to, you guessed it, go back to the hall for further meditation. Okay, so we obviously do many hours of meditation a day, so you can ask for one of these if you would like, and the way you ask is you just after the breakfast hall, when you come over to where the plates are, which is near the door to the kitchen, you simply knock with your foot against the door, and then one of the cooks will know that you would like a massage ball, and they will go to Lost and Found, and they will fetch you something like this. There's also a different kind, it just looks like this, but this is virtually the same, it's just a different color. And these are available, so you must always knock with your foot, because if you knock with your hands, then the cooks will think that there's a dietary requirement that they have not taken into consideration. So this will cause them to respond, and this is actually one of the few times when you are able to use your voice and you speak to the kitchen staff, okay? But please don't do this just because you want to have a little chat, because you are lonely, because this is not the duty of the kitchen staff. We are all volunteers here, okay? So if you want to have a chat with someone, just don't, okay? Just talk to yourself, but not really consciously, okay? Because it is better to clear your mind. Okay, so 8 and 9, group meditation in the hall. Then 9 to 11, this is quite exciting. So from 9 to 11, we will meditate again in the hall or in your room, depending on the teacher's instructions, okay? So the way it works, the main teacher of the technique is, of course, Goenka, who, after this technique was long lost to humanity, rediscovered it and has begun spreading it around the world through these centers for the retreats. But also there's a living teacher who is here in the flesh and blood. Goenka will speak to over the videos, as I will come to later in the day schedule, okay? But you also have a teacher who sits in front of you, being very inspirational. And this is the person who is then at 9 o'clock, you come back from your 5-minute stretch, and they will say, just close your eyes and keep meditating here in the hall, or they may send you back to your barrack to meditate there. So it's a little bit of a surprise. So it's a little fun to not always know what is going to happen next. Okay. Then from 11 to 12, there's a lunch break, during which time it is also very nice. We oftentimes have, we'll roast some vegetables, have some tahine, or there's some sauerkraut, and we'll have some red lentils, and sometimes we also mix in some dal, and so we make it all into a lovely sort of paste, so you can almost eat just with your eyes closed, just through touch and through scent, through smelling it. Okay. So there's a couple of lentils trapped in there. It's quite a nice sound. So you really start hearing sounds very, very clearly when you are at a retreat for long enough. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, so at 12 noon until 1, you guessed it, we go back to the hall, we have further meditations, and then after that we have another hour and a half group meditation in the hall. Then at 3:30 p.m. we have a meditation in your hall or in your room, in your barracks, again depending on the teacher's instructions. So this is where the teacher really come into their own and they can make up as they go along. Sometimes if some of the older people have just been snoozing, they've just been napping in their chairs, then oftentimes the teacher will say, okay, everybody has to just stay in the hall so that they send the volunteer helpers around the room and just say to the old people, like, hello, this is not time for sleeping. Sleeping happens between 10 p.m. as I will get to later and 4 a.m. as aforementioned. So it is sometimes a bit of a punishment when you have to stay in the hall, but oftentimes for the young people it is not. It is just normal. Okay, then at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. we have a tea break. And this is because here at the Vipassana Center in Triebel we do not have dinner. And this is the same at any center around the world. So there's no food at dinner times. Instead, what we like to do is we serve tea. So we not have any red lentils, but you will have tea. And because it's your first time, you can choose between having black tea, or we have many herbal teas, nettle tea, rooibos, very many options, very delicious. If you are a returning student, you actually only have options of drinking lemon water. So this is fine, because you would then be used to it already. Okay. From 6 to 7 p.m. then again, it is time for the group meditation in the hall. This is a very nice one because everyone's like, oh, getting to the end of the day. I've had my tea. It's a very nice time. I mean, you don't obviously communicate this with anyone through any means whatsoever, but you can sort of just imagine that everyone's like, yeah, living for the weekend, except you will not know what day of the week it is. Okay, so it might be the weekend, it might be a Monday. If you're doing your job properly, you will not think about this very much at all. Then at 7 p.m. until 8:15 is a very exciting time as well, because this is when it is the teacher's discourse, which means that we watch a video of Goenka, wonderful Goenka, and his wife. So him and his wife, they are the teachers, the main teachers on the course, except of course his wife doesn't speak because actually she sleeps quite a lot during the video. I think the filmmakers actually crop her out because she appears to be sleeping, but actually, if you think about it, she is probably so good at meditating, there's virtually no difference between waking and sleeping. But Goenka tells very many funny stories. He's a very funny man. He has a lovely voice, very lovely deep voice, and a wonderful way of making this ancient technique accessible to even the most stupid modern person. So then from 8:15 till 9, there's a group meditation in the hall, and this is a lovely hour because you'll be thinking about what Goenka has said, maybe thinking about some of his jokes, until you manage to stop thinking about anything, and that is when you do your best meditation, obviously. Have you got there the whole schedule as well? Okay, so yes, exactly. So you can see 9 to 9:30 is question time in the hall. So this is again where your flesh and blood teacher will help you with any problems you have. And then at 9:30, you return to your room in the barracks and it is lights out. Now here at Triebel, we live a bit loose. We are a bit more night owls, so we actually probably let out about 9:45 if you're in barracks F, because yes, we start actually at Z and we work back to A. So yeah, you'll be about 9:45. If you are in barrack A, then it was actually almost 10 o'clock, so it's pretty wild. Okay, so I've told you about the schedule, I have showed you the massage balls, I have shown you this was actually confiscated from somebody who thought they would be putting on their makeup while they're at the center. This is obviously not very necessary because to begin with, we just do not speak at all. Okay, it is a completely silent retreat. But then even if you were wearing makeup, eventually nobody even looks at the eyes of another person because this is actually forbidden as well. It is only implied, but it's a form of communication. So if you look into my eyes, if I am not speaking to you, but we pass by each other by the breakfast hall, and I go like this, you will be thinking, what is this woman trying to say to me? So we just say, just don't look at anybody, and then they won't think that you're trying to say any code messages to them. Okay, better look at your feet when you're walking around. Okay, so I think that brings us up to speed. We have done the schedule, I have taken the watch, I have explained to you, I have not explained to you about what we wear. So you're probably thinking, Angela, what a lovely jacket you have on, what a nice coat. But I have a surprise for you, because it's actually just a blanket. This is just a simple woolen blanket. When I first came to the center many years ago now, I was all about the fashion jackets. I had my zip-up coat and la-di-da, I grew up in Munich, so all the hustle and bustle that you can imagine from a big city. But here in Triebel, it is really not necessary to keep up with the latest fashions. It is considered quite superficial and foolish. And then within Triebel, within the meditation center, it is completely unnecessary. So nobody even looks at your face, so they don't even know. You could be wearing a really wonderful pair of trousers, but nobody would even know, oh, Angela is wearing some nice trousers, because you are virtually thinking about nothing at all except for the universal truth and how to eradicate suffering through the teachings of the Buddha. So just wear a blanket, why not? And this is actually just a dish towel in my hair, so I do not have to wash my hair. I wash my hair maybe only when I really have nothing else to do. And I wear white because, well, my yoga teacher says colors are very compromising of the spirit, and especially black is like you might as well just be wearing a sign saying I want to go to hell. So we don't have that. Okay, so this brings me on to my favorite bit of the introduction. Gerhard, will you do your gong, or shall I do my gong? Okay. I'll do my gong. Remember, you have to take his watch. Okay, don't forget. Okay. We've got our code of discipline now. I've printed this out. This is solely for your reference because I cannot see it. But I do know it by heart because I've been here for so long. So the code of discipline is not an option, not like a fun thing that you do. It's absolutely necessary for everyone who participates in this course. And we have it in this lovely frame. This is quite good because if you are sat on the desk and you're not wearing prayer beads, but you would like to be able to count what time it is, you don't even have to consult any of the watches that you've confiscated. You can just, every time you think it's been a second, you just go. See? So that's I'm going a bit quickly now, just for demonstration purposes, but anyways, that's the story of the frame. So, code of discipline. In particular, you must remain within sight for the entire 10 days of the course and have no contact whatsoever with the outside world. Okay, is this something you are okay with? You can commit? Okay, good. You must maintain complete silence for the first 9 days of the course. So the 10th day is actually just breakfast, and yes, you may say a few things. Also, if you're like me, by then you were just like, oh, I don't care, don't want to talk to anybody ever again. Okay, so you must have no contact with members of the opposite sex until the end of the course. This is very important. Obviously, as a young woman, you may talk to the old women, and as an old man, you may talk to the young men, but we have to make no exceptions beyond this. We at Vipassana, we are often having conversations about the non-binaries. This is not a issue that we have found a solution to yet. At one of the more trendy centers for Vipassana in Berlin, there was an experiment where you had in the breakfast hall, now you have half of it is for where the women eat, half of it is where the men eat. In between there's a curtain. So there is an experiment where we took away the curtain, and they had the non-binaries would take all their meals and it would stand in the middle of the room, so between the men and women, which made a lot of sense in theory, but actually we found that it was a very inadequate curtain, and there were also a couple of complaints that from the non-binaries that they did not want to stand and eat their meals in the middle of the room. That is actually drew more attention to the fact that they were neither with the women or with the men, so some people are very difficult to please. So we've not made such an adjustment here at the Triebel Center. So you will have to just choose one or the other. Now you must put aside any other spiritual practice for the duration of the course. So if you're an atheist, then this is fine. This is very easy. Maybe just don't read any books at all, actually. So no literature and also no dogmatic atheism, but you must just generally not read any books. So this brings me to the next thing. So you must abstain completely from the use of tobacco and non-prescribed drugs, including books, for the duration of the course. You wouldn't believe, we had a woman today, where is it? She has bought an entire bottle of Baileys, and she also brought 11 of her friends. People think just because these courses are free that they can just use them as a place to have a hen do, ahead of getting married. Now it is a wonderful thing to clear your head and go on a meditation retreat before making such a serious commitment, and I absolutely congratulate her on that. But obviously they brought alcohol onto the premises and probably also tobacco, and this is not what the course is for, so we had to send all of them home. So you will notice there's actually very few women on your course this week. There are normally 50 women, but we had to send 12 of them home, so there will be more like 38 women, although one of them is pregnant. I have not asked her what the sex of her baby is, but maybe 39 women, including the little baby, so not very many. And finally, you must follow as closely as possible the guidance of the teachers, okay? So this includes the video teacher, Gwenka, and his wife, but also the teacher that is flesh and blood in front of you, and maybe their wife as well. I don't know, it depends if they are married or not. Okay, so all the 2 students must follow these discipline codes, and there are copies at the registration table, which is here. So let me know if you like to read one more thing before you go in, okay? Now, you can ask for a hat if you have a cold hat, or if you are feeling self-conscious about your hair. Trust me, this will pass. Finally, we also have these kits for self-care. They are made of terracotta, so they also make quite a nice sound. Inside you'll find everything that you absolutely need, that a person could not live in a good fit way for 10 days without. I personally think these are a bit condescending, but Gerhard reckons that they are actually a very good eye-opener. So actually inside you'll find there's absolutely nothing, because if you believe in the teachings of the Buddha, then we are one with everything, and it is not necessary, all these Western trappings that we have. So I think this is personally a bit insulting. We only have one per table because people tend not to take them, but you can take it if you like. I'd really rather not have to keep explaining this to the other people that I speak to. And then, of course, at the end of the 10 days, you'll be free to go home. Yeah, I have chosen to stay here because I think society is a bit overrated personally, especially Triebel, but also just life generally. I like it here. I have my friends, I have Gerhard, I have you, maybe, if you want to be friends later. So it only remains for me to say to you, don't forget to scrub your toilet on the final day before leaving, and your shower, and strip the bed. I will now surely show you to your barracks. You will get used to it. During the first evening, sometimes people are very nervous. They titter while they brush their teeth, but it will quickly pass, and pretty soon you won't want to speak to anybody. Okay, so I wish you a very pleasant stay here if we do not have a chance to speak again, and I hope that you will come away with all the teachings that you need to have a much more calm and relaxing life. And well, I won't speak to you soon, and I won't even see you soon, but I will hear your footsteps, and maybe I will be able to smell you. Okay? Wonderful. have a lovely rest and good night.